Hi buddy, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for 8.13. Now, I'm going to be trying something a little bit different this time. I'm going to try not doing the Google Doc to see if I can get through these a little bit faster. So I'm going to do the Google Doc for all of the tier lists, all of the other guides, all of that stuff. But since for the patch notes, I'm pretty much just going down, talking about like what's going on this page, and there's already a really good visual aid. You know, it explains it on the page. And I'll still pull up the wiki so we can look at some information. And Analytics, we can look at some stats. But since we already have a really good visual aid here, I just feel like we probably don't need the Google Doc. I'll still have timestamps as well, so you can jump around to your favorite parts. But maybe this will save a little bit of time so we can try to get these patch notes done a little bit faster. Because I really would like to get the patch notes and tier list to about 30 minutes. I know I say that every time, and it's like a meme on the channel. But I'm going to try to see if I don't do the Google Doc for the patch notes, if that helps speed it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and get in here. If you like the content on the channel, be sure to subscribe. The Strategy Professor on YouTube. Leave a like if you enjoy the comment as well. And come check us out. We live stream pretty much every night around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's really fun. We have a great community. I'm very interactive. I try to read the chat. It's a good time, so come by and check it out. And also check out, like I just mentioned, the tier list. I have coaching guides, individual champion guides, individual champion playlists. If you just want to watch like all Tom Kench, I have like 60 Tom Kench videos on the channel, for example. So lots of good stuff. Be sure to check it out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. Aatrox. I made a whole video about Aatrox on the channel last week on the PDE. I don't think the numbers have changed that much. We'll go ahead and take a peek at him here real quick. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be super overpowered. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he will be. But his cooldowns are pretty long. So like his base cooldown on his Q is 16, and on Infernal Chains is 18, and Umbral Dash is 20, and his ult is 160, so that's a really long time. So I think he's going to be balanced around his cooldowns. He's really going to love any sort of cooldown reduction that he gets. So like Black Cleaver is going to be a big deal because cooldown reduction gains value the longer the cooldowns are on somebody, because it ends up being, you know, more time reduced. So I know that someone on the channel said they hated this comparison. I forgot precisely who it was last week during Viewers Night, but she is kind of like Riven in a sense, or he is rather. You know, in the fact that you have this 3-strike attack with mobility, and you have an additional dash after that. So that's kind of the similarity in the playstyle. Will probably be very similar. The differences are, instead of sort of his point-click stun, you know, he has this Infernal Chains, and he has more lifesteal, whereas she has more shields. But she does do quite a bit of damage, as you can see here. If you hit him with everything, then it's 281 damage with a 300% ratio, and then it can deal extra percentage damage on each hit. So I think he'll be good. We'll probably see him. Like right now, he's a very sort of specific niche because he's like the best, along there with Master Yi, probably like the best auto attacker, and so he's an excellent bruiser and tank crusher. In the current meta, if your team doesn't have a lot of CC to lock him down, then the current state of Aatrox before he gets reworked, then he's very strong. He has a lot of lifesteal. So that's part of why he came back into the meta, is people aren't playing as many tanks, and he's very good with Conqueror. So yeah, I think it's just that's why he's risen up. Because some people have said, well, why is Aatrox all of a sudden real good right now? He was also buffed several times. So it's not like people just decided he was good. It was like, no, the runes changed, the meta changed, and his items changed. When was he buffed here? Let's see. Okay, that's the full relaunch thing. But before then, yeah, in the preseason, he got his damage increase, and his Dark Flight did extra damage. Blades of Torment did a decent chunk extra damage. And somewhere in there, they made his flight unstoppable. Yeah, this. And 719 was kind of a big deal. Then his Massacre gained extra auto attack range. Those were kind of the two big ones that, you know, put into place where he eventually could be good. And then the nerf of other champions and the subsequent introduction of Conquer is what's made him good. So I think he'll be good in the future. Don't want to linger on him too much. Just watch the other video. I break it down for like 30 minutes in there, sort of what I think about him and where I think he'll fit in. Okay, as far as Irelia, this is a pretty good nerf. one of the big things, and I'm a huge fan of them doing this on these overpowered bruiser champs, is like make it bonus attack damage instead of total attack damage. That's a really big deal. So that means that she can't just get basically Trinity Force and a bunch of tank items. Now she has to get a little bit more AD if she wants to keep her same damage. Now she did get extra attack speed, and her base damage is down as well. So basically less base damage, scales off of bonus attack damage now instead of total attack damage, and in exchange for that she gets a little bit of extra attack speed. So I'm not an Irelia specialist, but this seems like this will almost certainly be lowering the amount of damage there. Then they're lowering her ratio here. That's still total attack damage, but they're lowering the ratio, the minimum, and they're lowering the maximum. And then Flawless Duet. So this is the mark how quick you can reactivate your Q. It's down 5 seconds. Usually I would imagine she would do this within 5 seconds. It doesn't seem like the kind of ability you would sit there and wait on, but I guess maybe you can wait. I don't know. So it's definitely a nerf. I just don't think it's going to matter that much. So overall, I still think she'll be really strong. I'm not sure if this is like how integral this is to completely shutting out the rest of her kit. They didn't touch her Q. So I still think she'll be really good, and I think this will be a pretty decent little nerf on her, especially this changing it to bonus attack damage. Because your total attack damage includes your base damage, obviously. It's like the 70 AD that you start with at the beginning. So, and the fact that she doesn't build much AD, I mean, she'll get like Tiamat, Trinity, Sterix. They changed that to bonus AD. 50% bonus AD. But that's, once again, you have to have AD to make that work. Yeah, and then Titanic Hydra. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be a damage nerf. I just don't think it's going to be enough to matter. I think she'll still be pretty strong. Alright, Kindred, probably not going to matter. Yeah, she's going to heal a little bit and stay safer early on. Like, itemization is just terrible on her. So, I just don't see how this is going to work. They have buffed her several times, though. Over the last few patches, like, they're definitely trying to make her a thing, but she needs to hunt down marks. Like, it just, by the nature of her kit, it takes a little while to get her going. She needs to get that 4th mark before she can really take off. Now, they lower the time on the marks. I still think they are... Okay, after you kill it, it's 40 seconds. So you have to get to 4 marks, I believe. Granting her based on this. I think she has to have 4 marks, from what I remember, in order to get the bonus 75 attack. I don't see where the marks are listed, but they're in here somewhere. There's quite a bit to read through. So we're not going to read through all that right now, but I just remember from hearing a lot of commentary about her and why she's not strong currently. It's because it takes her too long to ramp up these marks, and people can contest her and beat her up for the scuttles that are going to be marked early on, because scuttles are such a high priority anyways that people aren't really going out of their way to shut down some of her marks. So, you know, until they nerf champions like Zen and Graves a little bit more, then she's still going to have some problems. Like, her bonus AD... I mean, she has, like, her kit's okay. Like, it seems like it should be viable. This just seems like it's not really that great in this meta. Also, her ultimate, like, this is better at stuffing, like, large area of effect team comp. So if Kennen runs in, then you just, you know, like, Vladimir ults you, Kennen runs in, a Mumu ults, and Misfortune ults, and you just drop that Lamb's Respite. And that saves your allies, you know, at least a little bit there. And she's really good with people like Janna, because you can blow enemies out of the ult so you can kill them so that they don't get that invulnerability. So, like, there are certain team comps where she can be good. It's just, right now, I feel like it's just not, it just takes her too long to come online. Is the major issue. So, I mean, I could be wrong about that. We'll see. But I still think she's going to be relatively weak. Okay, Lucian, this is not enough of a nerf. Lucian is a beast right now. You're getting, like, what, an extra third of an attack damage. So every 3 levels, you're losing 1 AD. So you're losing 35 gold value. every 3 attack, or every 3 levels. That's just not enough. Like, his Q, he just does too much damage early, and he scales too well with the way the itemization works right now. So with Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver, he's just too strong. Now, if they buff some of the other range champions, that might be a good way to go about it. I don't, you know, Lucian is strong. I don't feel like they should nerf him into the dirt, though. I just think he needs more competition in the 80 carry slot. So, you know, Kaisa is getting nerfed. It's hard to say how much, because her build could change. We'll talk about her in a little bit. And she's sort of the main competition for him right now. But I think he could use a little tap to, like, the damage on his Q, or, like, the amplification on his double shot. Just something like that. Just his raw, like, burst damage early on, I feel like could use a little hit. But then still give him his mobility, give him, like, his synergy with Blade of the Ruined King and Ardent Sensor and all these other things, these other synergies that he has with his Q, like his Braum, you know, passive procs. All that stuff is cool. I like that. That's unique about him. His double shot mechanic and his mobility. I just feel like his raw, like, burst damage with his Q is probably a little bit too high early on. But so they nerfed that, and then they nerfed his R ability damage to minions. I'm not sure how this is going to impact the lane. If he can't instantly clear a wave with his R anymore, and I'm not sure if that... I think he'll probably still be able to clear the wave, but maybe not. Then that would be a nerf, you know, to his, like, his back timings. But, I mean, that's a pretty minor part of his kit. So they're trying to really preserve him and keep him cool because, you know, he hasn't been in the meta for a couple years. Just let him have his time in the sun. I don't think he's, like, super oppressive. I just think maybe a little hit to, you know, maybe 5 or 10 damage off his Q or something like that would have been more appropriate, but that's fine. So he'll still be really good. He'll probably still want to be one of the best 80 carries on this patch. Okay, Pyke. Strange changes. So they're nerfing his health by 10, which is about 27 gold worth of stats per level. They're giving him 1 armor, which is about 20 gold worth of stats, and they're giving him 0.75 magic resist, which is, I don't know, somewhere around 13 gold worth of stats. So basically they're giving him like 33 gold per level worth of resistances, and they're taking away 27 gold in raw health. I assume this is probably to get him to stop getting things at scale of health. I heard some people saying he was trying to go Gargoyle Stoneplate sometimes. I didn't see that as a very popular option, but I don't know. It doesn't seem... It seems like they're taking, you know, money from one hand and just putting it in the other. That's how I... Because it's blended between armor and magic resist. So I don't know. I don't really understand the design philosophy there. But anyways, okay, so they're changing this. They're lowering the base damage by 20, but they're giving it an extra 2 bonus attack damage. So at later levels, if you have 100 AD, then this will be the same. Now, it has to be 100 bonus attack damage, not total attack damage. So you're going to have to get 2 lethality items. You're going to have to get your Dustblade and your Ghostblade to make up that damage. So I think that's a nerf. Because a lot of times when you're a support, especially with what they're doing, some of the global gold, which we'll talk about here in a second, you're going to be pretty poor. And so getting to where you have your tier 2 item, your upgraded gold item, and then getting 2 lethality items is going to be tough. I guess you don't have to have the second one fully completed, but you have to be well on your way. On the flip side, you're also not leveling this up first. So this isn't going to be max level till 13. So early on, this is actually a buff, because you notice, like, when you have just 1 point in E, then it's actually more damage with any bonus attack damage. So this is going to be a boost early on, you know, for the first couple of levels here. Now, it does get to 10 right here. So it's 5 at your second point, and then 10 at your third point. And then 15, and then 20. So it's interesting. If you go full on AD, if you somehow get like triple AD item, it'll be a slight boost, but I think overall it'll probably be a nerf a lot of the time. In the mid game it'll be a nerf, in the early game it'll be a buff. Now here, this is going to be a straight nerf throughout. So they did the same thing. They gave it an extra 0.2 AD, but at max level now you're losing 50 damage, and there's virtually no way you're overcoming that. It would take you like 250 extra AD. Oh, even more than that. At 20... Yeah, like 250 extra AD. Whereas here at this 20... Oh, you just... I don't know why. I'm kind of tired. My math's off. So you would only need 20 extra attack damage here. So you would only need 100 extra bonus attack damage to get the 20. So that's not too draconian. You know, by the end, you just have one item and some change completed. But this, where you have to have like 250 to get it, is definitely a nerf. And this is the more important one too, right? Now, it's only 10 for a little bit. Oh, it actually does more base damage early. Okay, I just noticed that. Okay. So it actually does more early, and then it starts falling off later. Okay. So until level whatever this is, say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Until level 13, this is actually either neutral or a buff. Okay, actually, I guess overall, this is probably a buff then. Because, you know, it's going to be a long time before you get to level 13. So this is extra damage, extra base damage with an extra bonus attack damage up until level 13 is kind of the break-even point. Then this one, if you just go, you know, Dustblade plus one other, you know, if you're working your way towards Cleaver or something after that, or Ghostblade, then you'll hit this break point. So, overall, I think it's a buff to Pyke. Do I think he's magically going to be, like, super overpowered? No. He's already pretty good if you're good with him, though. I know he doesn't have very good stats, but if you're good on him, he can work. So he's kind of like Thresh-esque. Not necessarily the same thing, but he has like tough decisions, and his mechanics are kind of tricky sometimes. Not quite as tough as Thresh, but I'm just using that analogy because Thresh never has a 50% win rate. And everyone's like, oh, you know, Pyke's 46, 48% win rate. It's like, that's true, but there can be really good people with Pyke too. You know, you're not going to see champions consistently over 50% win rate most of the time unless they have a relatively low skill floor. So like Janna, Sona, stuff like that. You might temporarily see a couple other ones that are higher skill cap, but it's on the rare side. Okay, Gragas. Now, Gragas has been seeing some more attention, so people have asked me, you know, what do I think of Gragas support? Now, I've seen him pop up a little bit of support. I honestly haven't played him in a while. I tried to make him work as support last spring, I think. And sort of the Ardent meta there. Like, my problem with Gragas is his cooldowns early are kind of low. His mana costs aren't that bad, but his damage is kind of low early. It's like, I don't know, you do heal. They did buff his healing a while back. It's from 4% to 6%. They are buffing him on this patch a little bit too. And then he's got this damage reduction that only lasts for 2.5 seconds. I wish this would last a little bit longer, like 5 seconds, so he could permanently have this up if he wanted to spam the mana. Like, I like the old one where it would give you mana and give you damage reduction for like 12 seconds or something. Or just like take away the channel time off of this. Because that's the thing, is like you have to channel it, which just feels really awkward. Just make it instant with no channel time. Or like boost the damage reduction. Just something. He needs a little help with his defense. But you don't want him to be too strong as a jungler either. You know, this has a really long cooldown unless you hit somebody with it. Then it goes down a little bit. It does have a 1 second stun. Now, this is a pretty interesting peel tactic if they try to engage on you with like a Zac or a Lucian or something. You can peel them off. He does have a very interesting ult too, so, you know, like his kit is good. Like Body Slam and Explosive Cask are great. Those are awesome support tools, you know, relatively low cooldown on the ult. This is kind of a high cooldown, but you can use it to escape. You can use it to engage, so it's decent. It has pretty strong damage. It's just the barrel roll is a little awkward, and Drunken Rage is a little awkward, but the cooldown's always 5 seconds now. Oh, that's already reflected on here. Okay, so this is already the updated version. But yeah, so it used to be 8 seconds. Now it's always 5, which is good, which means you can put 1 point in it and it'll be a little bit better. And he gains 50 bonus attack range on his next attack. So that's pretty handy. Because his range is, yeah, just 175. So they've been doing that more and more with melee champs. They give them a little bit of extra range on their attacks when they use certain abilities. So I think it's good. He could use a little buff. I don't think he's magically going to be like must pick, must ban, but it's nice. I like how they're doing a lot of buffs and a lot of nerfs on this patch, just so that it kind of balances out. Because I feel like a lot of nerfs is sort of, it feels bad. So they're doing some buffs. Now, Jarvan is very dangerous to buff. He was really strong for a long time. I'm not really entirely sure why he fell off. I think he just doesn't synergize with the runes as well as some other picks. And they buffed some other tanks that have sort of taken his place, most notably like Sejuani. But he can be pretty strong. So they gave him a minimal damage on his martial cadence, so he can kill people with it, I guess. It's not a huge deal, but it's nice. And then Demacian's standard is 11 seconds at all ranks. Once again, I like them doing this. I described this on the PvE before, where it's very clear what the 1-point wonder is. And I think especially tanks and supports really need that. Like, you don't want all 3 abilities to be really good where you have to put a lot of points in them to make them function. Because games are so fast, you're just not going to get to level 18 a lot of the time. So just have it be very clear, like, this is an efficient, like, ability if you just put 1 point in it. And then you can put your points in your other stuff. So they did this with Leona a while ago, and it was great off of her Q. So her Q used to scale down and cool down over time, and they just said, no, it's always going to be 5 seconds instead of whatever it was, 7, 6, 5, 4... was just always a flat 5. So that's kind of what they did here, and that's what they did with the Gragas. So they're basically just telling you, hey, 1 point in W, 1 point in E. And some people may not like that, like they're dictating your playstyle or whatever, but they're trying to help you out. They're trying to make it more powerful. So that's really nice, especially on the cooldown. And they increase the base damage a little bit, so it's more at earlier levels, so it's more effective if you just have 1 rank in it. So, pretty nice. Do I think it'll automatically bring him back? Not really, but it is nice. He just has a hard time locking down, like, Ezreal, Lucian, and some of these other, like, high-mobility AD carries. But he could be good. Okay, so Jinx. This is a little odd. This wasn't on the PvE. Unless they added it in. Sorry, I got a cat hair in my mouth or something. Unless they added it in at the end and I just didn't see it. Critical strikes do, holy crap. Okay, got it. Critical strikes, double fish bones, 10% bonus attack damage. So you go to 220%. So Storm Razor does 216% crit. I don't know what that means. I don't know why it does 216% instead of whatever the bonus is off of this, but that's what it is. That's what the percentages are. Okay, so what does this mean overall? So if you land crits with Jinx now, then you get that extra little bit of bonus damage. So now basically her, like, the bonus off of the rockets themselves can crit. I thought that was a thing before. I guess it wasn't. So she's dealing, basically, if she gets, like, max crit, she's dealing, like, 10% extra damage or so. It's okay. I don't think she's coming back with just that, though. I mean, I don't think they changed crit items. We'll see. They may have changed them a little bit. They may have knocked, like, 100 gold off Infinity Edge. I don't know. But I don't think they changed them enough for this to matter. Like, Jinx's problem, she just requires too many items to get going, and she's very immobile, so she's very susceptible to assassins. You gotta remember, a lot of why certain AD carries are falling out of the meta is not just the crit nerfs. Yes, the crit nerfs are important in why they fell out, but it's also just the meta shifted. Assassins are too strong. There's too much damage in the meta. There's too much mobility and too much damage for traditional AD carries. This was already happening. AD carry was already, on the weak side for a lot of them, even before the crit nerf changes. And then the crit nerfs are just kind of the nail in the coffin. So I don't think this is going to change it. You get a little more bonus damage off of Zap. Whatever. Like, they've buffed this ability so many times. That's just, like, her Zap and her Chompers and things like that. It's like, that's not what she's all about. She's all about switcheroo and her rockets. It needs to be easier to access her mobility, I think. I don't know. But this is not enough. Probably. This is not enough. Okay, so Kalista. This seems like this should be the kind of meta where Kalista would be really good. in theory. I mean, I guess she's best against tanks. Like, it just takes too long for her to stack up the Ren stacks to kill people. I suppose that's what it is. The damage is just too fast. But this is going to help a lot, in theory. You know, once you get to level 9, you're getting basically a 7th more AD ratio off of this, which is good. Blader and King also got buffed, which you would think would be really good for her, and Hurricane. But, you know, once again, Talon comes running at you. If you have to stick 6 auto attacks in Rend before you can kill him, it's going to be a problem. You know, you need Kaisa to just, you know, Q and hope to burst him out with her shield, or you need Lucian just to, you know, Q and burst him out with the double shots. This is just too slow, I think. So we might see her back, but I doubt it. Now, Kassadin, this is a pretty dangerous buff. I don't know why they're buffing this guy, because assassins are already a problem, and he's one of the most problematic ones because he also has some defense. He does take a while to come online, though. That's like buff anti-assassin champs. Anyway, so he gets 0.8 ability power on this stuff. Now, do I think he's going to come back? Probably not right now, just because the games are too fast. They are slowing him down, so it's hard to tell how much some of these anti-snowballing things that they talk about later in the patch are going to affect sort of what's going on. But, who knows? If it slows down enough, this might work. This does stack his tier a little bit faster for whatever that's worth. But I still think that at his core, he's at least a Rod of the Ages user, and I think a lot of people do like to go Rod tier on him. You might be able to get away with just Rod Lichbane. They're trying to make tier more attractive. But I think he just takes too long to come online, and he just doesn't have enough defense against AD champions. So like Zed, Talon, stuff like that middle just tear him up. So, and those are very popular. So yeah, I think that's, I mean, it's good. He could be really good. You know, extra AP ratios are very strong on him. I mean, a 0.8 on some of his core abilities. It's dangerous, but we'll see. Now, this is interesting. Orianna gets Command Dissonance, 2 seconds down. So that's a lot more harassment in the lane. I don't think in solo queue she's still going to be that great. She just requires too much coordination. A bit too slow, not enough burst damage. But it's useful. You might see her summon pro play, but I don't think this is going to be quite enough. Although it is very nice to have the lower cooldown on that. So, you know, we'll see. She will have some more lane dominance, especially once she gets her Lost Chapter, like some pretty solid harassment. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely helpful. I just think she's a little out of the meta, though. Blade of Exile, okay, good. You know, Riven is just getting... You know, all the other fighters are really strong top lane, but she just isn't for most people. So, you know, lowering the cooldown on her ult early on and then giving her a bit more health regen, probably a good idea. Dangerous champion to buff. There are a lot of dangerous one-tricks out there, but overall, it's probably worth. Explosive charge. You're getting a little bit more ratio. I think this is undoing the nerf that they did back, like, almost literally. I mean, let me see if it's... Now, I don't really understand why. I mean, it was her range, which is why she fell out of the meta in the first place. But, you know, Lucian and Kaisa have low range. She just doesn't have the other tools to make up for it, I guess. It's probably like her itemization is a thing, too. She was already out of the meta even before the itemization changes with the Infinity Edge. Okay, well, it's not going to show us, but either way, I don't think that's going to be enough to bring her back. Her itemization is just too bad. I mean, a lot of these champions, like Jinx, like Tristana, are trying to go like Stormrazor now, so you get that first crit, but the problem is, what do you do after that? Like, you don't have any more crits, and they need crit in their kit. Like, in theory, she could go something like a Blather and King build, but I'm just not seeing it. Like, you have to have special mechanics, either double shot from Lucian to trigger with Blather and King, or you have to be able to scale with AP, pretty much, and be someone like Rageblade plus AP, and be someone like Kaisa, Varus, Kog'Maw. I mean, I don't even think Kog'Maw's that great right now. And Varus is not even that great. So yeah, this is just not going to help. She just requires too many items. Spinning Slash... Man, it's useful. Sure. Tryn by his nature is kind of a toxic champion. When he gets really far ahead, it just feels like there's not much counterplay to him. Like there is if you have a lot of CC, but it just feels like it's requires a team answer to him. Like it's very difficult to duel him, which is the point, but he's okay. I mean, I don't mind a meta where Tryndamere it doesn't get played a lot, but his playstyle is very frustrating too, just kind of the AFK split push. But sure, this is fine. It'll help out. Now, this is an important buff. This is really big. It says the max damage. I don't know why it doesn't tell you, like, per stack, but I think it was 10% per stack. Yeah, and gets to 6 stacks of extra damage. That's a lot. There's a lot of extra damage of his bonus damage, or his bonus attack damage. So, now, they took out the buff on his R, though. On the PBE, he did have a buff where he was going to get 10 flat extra damage on his R, I think. Either 5 or 10. Flat extra 80 on his R, so they took that out. So this isn't going to make him, like, overpowered, but he's already, like, undercover pretty decent. If the meta slows down a little bit, and then, you know, you might start seeing him a little bit more. But yeah, Twitch, very, very good champion in solo queue overall. I would still have him in my top 5 AD carry, just because of the nature of his kit. Okay, let's go through some nerfs here. So yeah, still going to be pretty strong. Camille, good nerf. I thought they were going to nerf something else about her, too, like maybe with her ult, but this is a good start. I mean, she's just really ridiculous to deal with. Like, this cooldown gets so low after a little bit. She can just zip around the map, and the fact that she can also just kind of one-shot people while they're stunned with Trinity Force is annoying. So, yeah, I like this, knocking off 55 damage. That's a lot of damage off the top, but she has a lot of excess power in her kit. You know, she has that true damage. She gets bonuses off of her ult. I think she'll be okay. Now, there are some other candidates, too. Like, Yasuo is really strong, too, and I don't think he got touched on this. But, yeah, I like it. It might be a little too much, but they can always take it back a little bit. But she's been really strong for a really long time. I think she's been, like, the #1 top laner for a long time. And now she's even been, like, a top 3 jungler for a long time. Okay, Dr. Mundo. So he doesn't do as much free damage. Good. So they're knocking off 20 free damage. He'll still probably be pretty good. He feels excessively powerful once he gets rolling. So he'll probably still be good. But yeah, taking away some of that free damage is definitely a good place to start. Now, Master Yi, I wish they nerfed him more. But they're specifically with some of these nerfs trying to nerf the funneling strats in pro play. So they're lowering his mana cost, but it doesn't do bonus damage to minions. And it's important to note this is minions, not monsters. So he will still have the same clear speed. It'll be the exact same in the jungle. This is only if you walk into a lane and just clear the minions in the lane. So this is specifically for lane Master Yi or funneling Master Yi, however you want to think of it. Doesn't wave clear as fast. So, good. I think the funneling strat, I don't really like the funneling strat that much in pro play. I think it just feels a lot, it just feels non-interactive, especially in the middle lane and in the jungle, like, because they run around and they don't usually want to fight. I don't think, from what I've seen, they just don't want to fight. They just want to scale up their person a lot. So I like this change. Now, Nunu is kind of victim #1 here of these nerfs. Nunu by himself is a pretty bad champion, I think. And for a while he has been, but he's just been caught up with the Karthus, specifically the Karthus Nunu. And unfortunately they are nerfing Nunu, which I suppose is the right thing to do, because they could just go like Nunu Kaisa or Nunu like something else. There's the 40% ability power and the attack speed buff is too much, but they should give him more compensatory buffs than this. Come on, man. Really, only 5% bonus attack speed for every ability power? Like, they're just encouraging him to build full AP now, more than people already do, and that's such a bad build on him most of the time. Yeah, so now he has to have 200 ability power to get to the same attack speed that he was at. And with this, he has to have 400 ability power to get back to this ratio. Now, granted, the AP ratio didn't used to be there in the first place at all, and they added it on there to try to give him a little buff. So I feel like that's a little harsh. It should be like a 10% or something if they want to do that, to try to get him to go down the AP road. Or just make AP more viable on him to begin with. I don't know. But I think this is probably going to kill that strat. I mean, maybe not, but losing the 20% is... So they needed to do something about it. I guess just nerfing the problematic champions are a good start. But there are other champions that can serve those roles as well. Okay. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of, like, what could they do about that? They could make it to where if you have Smite, you don't gain experience from lane minions. Something like that. That's that simple. Because the jungler, I mean... So you could increase their experience from jungle monsters a little bit more, but then just say you don't gain any experience from minions. Or something like that. I don't know, just something that discourages you from going into lanes. And staying in lanes. If you have a Smite. I'm trying to think of, like, what else they could do. Like the Smite items, but, you know, something like that to discourage people from going into lanes and sitting there if you're a jungler, I think would be pretty nice. And that would also penalize junglers who want to sit there and camp a lane for a really long time, for like a minute, and just leech some experience while they just wait. That would penalize them even more. So I wouldn't mind seeing, like, if you're actually clearing your own jungle, then you gain more experience. But if you just sit there and camp a lane, or if you're just farming, you know, doing the funneling strat, then you're not gaining a lot of experience. Or at least maybe not no experience, but, like, you get a penalty to lane experience. Like, you only gain 50% of the experience. Or something like that. That would address it systemically instead of this one individual interaction. But anyways, that's what we have. Okay, Bella's Breath. Yeah, they need to nerf Ornn. He's getting played everywhere in pro play, even though he's been nerfed a million times. He's a fun champion, and there are some champs that can counterplay him, but he's... I would nerf his damage. Like, I don't mind it being really tanky, but it feels like when I see Ornn duel somebody that's like a fighter top lane, like when he's dueling Camille and beating her up, you know, early on, or when he's dueling, you know, just any of these, like, fighter champs, and he's winning the fight 1v1, that's too strong. Like, I feel like tanks shouldn't really be able to 1v1 fighters in the early game. I think they should be hard to kill. And maybe, you know, have good trades, but they just have really, like, he just does too much damage, I think. So they're lowering his width and the flame length. So they're just allowing you, if you have mobility, you can kite and get away from him a little bit better. Okay. I still think he'll probably get played, but this will definitely nerf him down a little bit. Okay, Singed. They are lowering the maximum health damage on that. Flip. Who cares? I mean, you're losing, like, early level 2% max health. Sure. I mean, this isn't something that you're spamming in lane, so it's not going to matter that much, probably. Now, the stats granted. He's losing 5 per level, so 5 armor, magic resist, and other stuff. I don't think it's going to matter that much. I mean, it's a nice little... Now, this is an interaction I didn't even know existed, but Time Warp Tonic apparently granted you movement speed for all of Insanity. And I don't remember how much movement speed Time Warp Tonic gives. Isn't it like 5% or something? But, yeah, he doesn't have that interaction anymore, so that's nice. I don't think Singed is that much of a problem in solo queue. I know he has a high win rate, but there's just so many times to just see Singed fail that I don't think he needs that much of a nerf. Maybe just a little tap is fine. But people just don't itemize him. I mean, what itemize him correctly? So I think what usually affects people is like whether or not they get Leandri's Rylai's. It's like, do you get those items? Okay, good, you're strong. Are you getting Righteous Glory and ZZ Rock Portal instead? Okay, you're worthless. Like, I feel like that's what it comes down to. So it just depends on if Singed gets the actual appropriate damage items or not. But anyways, and I know somebody's gonna say, but I love Righteous Glory Singed. Just trust me, try out Rylai's, Leandri's. You'll thank me later. It's so much better. Like, if you are appropriately positioning and warding, you don't need Righteous Glory to get away, and it's not even that great for getting away. Right? Like, Righteous Glory is to help people close the gap that typically have a hard time closing the gap. Like, Righteous Glory is good on Singed, like, if you're planning on showing up to team fights with him and trying to engage fights. So if your team doesn't have any other way to engage or start fights, and you don't think you're going to be able to split push efficiently, then sure, maybe you can take Righteous Glory, but I mean, the Leandri's Rylai's, that's what actually makes you do damage. If you take Righteous, people are just going to laugh off your damage a lot of the time. That also helps you wave clear faster if you get Leandri's Righteous. Okay, Taric is victim number 2 here. So they are nerfing Taric specifically because of the Taric E combo middle. Now they're saying this regardless of how well Taric is doing. So they want him to have to buy stats. They want him to have to buy armor to get that bonus. So this is a pretty big nerf of 35. So you have to have like around 150 bonus armor to make up for this. So kind of rough. I mean, 285 is a really high base damage, and frankly, that's not why people were playing him middle anyways. I don't know what this means, granting more armor than intended. How much more armor? Like 20 more armor? 5 more armor? I don't know, but apparently that was a thing. Then Cosmic Radiance. I really don't like this. I don't like increasing the cooldown on support ults, because that's a lot of who supports are. You know, it's their cooldowns, it's their utility. And so it's rough to see that, but I kind of understand why they're doing it, and a lot of it's just because of Master Yi. So, unfortunately, Taric's going to have a hard time on this patch, I think. Okay, Vlad, and I know we're past 30. We're going to keep going. I guess the meme's still alive. Let's see if we can get it in under an hour. There's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so Vlad nerfing his E a little bit. It's fine. He's still a pretty overpowered champion. This doesn't really hurt his laning phase that much. It just hurts his sustained damage in later game team fights when you have this maxed out. And I think that's fair. So he still has a really strong laning phase, great sustain. He still has pretty good burst damage. It's just later on when you're spamming this a lot in a fight, he's going to have less. So I think that's good. Do I think he'll still be strong? Yes. Do I think he's good in the bot lane? Probably not, most of the time. But I think he can still be a strong mid laner. Okay, Zoe, nerfed to Spell Thieves. I think this is good. Zoe's still too strong, and a lot of it's because she doesn't even have to hit her bubble to kill you. So I think they should just nerf her damage on her Q also, and then increase the amplification that you get if they're bubbled, just to compensate for that. Kind of like what they did with Ahri with her charm, pretty much. Like, you have to hit the charm with Ahri, or you're probably not going to kill the person unless you're super far ahead. I think Zoe should get the Ahri treatment. But yeah, this ability just does too much. Like, it takes summoners, you get free summoner spells, you know, it triggers your passive, you get this free movement speed, it has a really good damage ratio, it's just too strong. So lowering this down to 0.75, we can pull her up here really quickly. Lowering the movement speed uptime is nice, you know, lowering it by a second. And then the damage ratio, total damage ratio down to 0.65 ability power is nice too. So yeah, casting the spell, grant Zoe bonus movement speed for the next few seconds, and summons 3 bubbles that orbit near for the next 10 seconds. That's a long time for those bubbles. They needed to lower that time down to like 5 seconds or something. Because right now, and I don't know if they fix this, but she can take like Hex Flash, and then Hex Flash over and over again in lane, and get this proc, and just threaten people with it. So it still does 255 base damage, which is a lot. You know, the 0.65 going down a little bit, it's okay. The movement speed, the time goes down, but the amount is still just insanely high. I think she's still going to be too strong. So we'll see, but I feel like her passive just does too much, like more sparkles plus this Spell Thieves. It just does too much damage, I think. But we'll see. She'll get dialed back a little bit, but I expect her to still be a strong contender. Now, this is a very big deal. Guinsoo's Rage Blade, so this stacks up to 6 times. So if you do 6, I think this takes us to 15. Yeah, 15. And then 6 times that's 24. So you're losing 9% of your ability power buff and AD buff. I mean, let's look at the cost efficiency on this item. So it's obviously going to be a nerf to like Master Yi and Kaisa are the first ones that sort of come to my mind. Oh, wait, I can do that. I forgot they had the item search now. Alright, so its base efficiency is only 2,000. With the on hit, it goes to 2,400. Now, at base stack, it goes to 2,600. At max stack, it goes to 4,100. And then it tells you the passive gold for every, on hit that you get is 250 here, 250 there. Now, does this include... It does include the 7.5 on hit. Okay, so with no stacks, when it rolls up, you're losing about 1,000 gold in value. If you have it 6 stacked by itself, you get 4,100 gold value. So it's still really efficient at 6 stacks. But I think this used to be like almost 5,000 something gold from what I remember. So, yeah, it's definitely losing some efficiency. I mean, Blade is 89%. Current health. It's difficult to evaluate these things sometimes, but I feel like that's pretty big, especially on someone like Kai'Sa who scales off of both AD and AP. They like both of those stats. Then that's going to be really, really rough on them. The people who just use it for the AD, basically a little bit less rough. But, so, I don't know if she's still going to get that or not. I mean, she has other options. Like, she could go Essence Reaver somewhere in there. It just feels like that's such an integral part of her kit, especially when you put it together with Nashor's Tooth. Because that does the on-hit damage, and that scales off of the AP, and it provides AP. So, like, Nashor's Guinsoo's has been such a huge staple of hers. I'm just not sure. I mean, we'll have to see. It's definitely 9%, when it's fully stacked, 9% less AD and less AP. But you got to remember, in solo queue also, a lot of people aren't going to fully stack this before they fight also. It's going to be Clown Fiesta, and everybody's just going to roll up, and they're going to start off at 0 stacks at the start of the fight anyways, and then just power through. So really, does it even matter if, for half of the fight, she's sitting at, not 6 stacks, and she's already really strong. So in that sense, it may not matter as much because people just aren't going to be stacking it correctly anyways in solo queue. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I do think that, like I said, Essence Reaver is very good. I just don't know what you would get after Essence Reaver on her. I mean, I guess you could do something like a Blade of the Ruined King next. She really likes the invisibility off a Supercharger, but I mean, maybe people would try something like a Gunblade. It sounds kind of silly, but it does do a lot of burst damage. Maybe they just turn her into a burst, person with, like, Essence Reaver Gunblade. Maybe it's something like that. Like, Blade of the Ruined King and just have a bunch of sustain. Now, that's not going to give, like, a lot of attack speed, though. I mean, I guess you could still go Nashers, like Essence Reaver Nashers. It's not sure, but just, like, having more rockets in a fight off of Essence Reaver and just being able to spam your stuff. I mean, it's hard to get around like it that it's not going to be a nerf. Now, I think some of the Europeans might already be on this change. I'm not sure. Let me look at pro build just really quickly. So, I think Kai'Sa will still be viable. This is going to knock down that build, but I do think that she probably has other builds. I mean, like I said, maybe people still just go to Guinsoo's Nashor's build just because it's just so powerful. Because the AP and the AD do matter, but also it's the double hit that applies your passive twice. I believe it applies your passive twice. And that's part of what makes it really strong with the execute damage. So, I mean, let's be honest. When she gets to 3 items, she's ridiculously powerful anyway, so who knows? We might still just see the same old build, but I think she'll be around. I think she'll be strong. Her ratios are just so high, and she has good burst, good dueling potential, good team fighting, pretty good utility. So I think she'll be around, but she's going to be the most impacted by this. And then, like I said, Master Yi will be impacted, and then like Varus and Kog'Maw to a lesser extent because they're already kind of out of the meta. I'm trying to think of somebody else who would use this. old Aatrox was using this. I don't know if new Aatrox probably would not, because he's more of a fighter than an auto attacker. So yeah, I mean, mostly Yi, and now Yi probably isn't going to care about this as much. Like, he doesn't, the ability power doesn't affect him. He doesn't build any. And then the AP, the AD, he doesn't build a lot of AD either. He gets a lot of attack speed from what I remember. He gets like Guinsoo's, the attack speed, jungle item, and then maybe Blather and King, I think, after that. And that's pretty much it. So he has pretty low AD to begin with. So I don't think that hurting the scaling. It just basically comes down to his E with the true damage, and then getting like double and triple hits off of that. That's what really has him delete people. So I think he'll still be pretty strong. So yeah, good nerf. Item's a bit too strong. You know, they were thinking of increasing the cost to make it 3,500 or 3,600. Then they instead decided to hit the efficiency. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, that's fine. I probably would have rather them hit the cost, but the efficiency's fine. Okay, Dominion style, woohoo, you get one extra ability power. Like, it's going to make this tree that much more viable. Like, this tree is just pretty bad most of the time unless you can use Electrocute and Sudden Impact. Like, they need to change the Sudden Impact tree to have some other option that's good other than Sudden Impact, because some champions just don't have easy dashes like that would really like this tree. So it's okay. You know, you get some buffs to this, and I read someone in the comments down here, oh no, you're buffing, you're nerfing Tahm Kench, or you're buffing Tahm Kench out of control. Haven't you seen Halo Blades Tahm Kench? That's all I have to say about that. No, I mean, come on, man. Like, if you're getting Halo Blades on Tahm Kench, I mean, I guess you're having fun. Okay. Unsealed Spellbook. Now, this would be something I would be interested in, like, trying out potentially on some champs, particularly, like, sometimes when I'm playing Rakan, I just really wish I could take Cleanse, but I also want Ignite. And then Barrier could be good sometimes. So on champions that can use, like, a bunch of different runes, like, I could see this being useful. Especially now that you can stack it a little bit faster. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't seen a lot of people use it either, but this seems like this could be something that's really helpful. So we'll see. Certain champions that used to like this, the Unsealed Spellbook, like Rakan, Taric, maybe Alistar, like they might like these types of things a little bit more. We'll see. Especially champions that can use multiple summoners, I think would like this. Now, this is something that I don't remember them previewing on the PBE. So, you know, there's a lot of notable things they did not change here. They did not do anything about Talia in the jungle. They did tap Zoe a little bit. They didn't do anything overall about the damage of assassins. They didn't touch any of the crit items, so like Caitlyn and all those people were still going to be screwed. Jinx is the only one who got touched, and I don't think that's going to matter for her. So crit marksman, still not in a good place. They didn't do anything about Lulu. We've been seeing Lulu a lot in all sorts of positions. She seems to be a problem champ. I think LeBlanc is a problem champ. Nocturne's problematic. So there are still several champs that Talon is, in solo queue at least, can be problematic. So is this overall going to shake up the meta as far as just like this stuff before I talk about the early? Well, let's just talk about early first, and we'll talk about the shakeup. So what they're doing is they're trying to stop the snowballing a little bit. So instead of taking damage away from the assassins, they're trying to stop how fast and how far away they can run with the game. So how are they doing this? So first of all, they're changing the death timers so that you're up faster. So early on, you're going to spawn, you know, somewhere between 4 to 6 seconds faster. So that means you're going to get back to lane a little bit quicker. Do I think this is going to matter that much? Probably not. Now, this only affects for the first 7 levels of the game, so late game death timers are still the same. But if you're a teleport champion, this could matter quite a bit. So if you're like a top laner with teleport, this could matter. You know, we'll see. I think for most people in solo queue, people are so inefficient with their time anyways that I just don't think this is going to matter that much early on. Like, you'll get back to lane and maybe you catch an extra, like, couple of minions if they push it in really quickly. I mean, we'll see. I could be wrong about that, but it's kind of just an under-the-hood free thing to try to stop snowballing a little bit more. So it's helpful. I mean, if it's like level 7 and maybe you can run back and help defend the dragon after you got caught, we'll see. Now, this is important. This is a really big deal. They are changing bounty gold. Now, they just changed this, like last patch, I think, and now they're changing it again, so where it's giving you a lot more gold for shutdowns. And kill bounty starts at 2. So if an enemy has killed 2 units, and you kill them, you get 150 gold. I think that's excessive. I feel like 3 to 6 kills now grants 300 gold. So it used to grant 200, now it grants 300. So I guess it used to give no gold at 2 kills, no extra gold, but now it gives 150, and then at 3 it gives 200 extra gold at 3 to 6 kills, and then 25, 50 per additional kill beyond 6. With no cap on the bounty, so that's a lot. I mean, if they kill 2 people, they're going to get 600 total gold. Probably. And then if you kill them back, now you're going to get 450 of that gold. So you're going to get a kill and a half off of that. I mean, they worked hard for those 2 kills a lot of the time. And now, like, if you get 1 kill, that's equal to 1.5, catching back up to them to start with. You know, if they get 3 kills, that's going to be 900 gold. And this will give you 600 total gold. So, I feel like that's pushing it, but that's okay. So now, you know, you're going to have a third of what they had instead of, you know, like 18% or whatever what they had. This is a pretty big deal. It's going to say, basically, if you can kill that person who's starting to snowball, you can stop them from snowballing as hard because you're going to get some gold back. And so it's going to keep the gold at a much more equilibrium kind of state. So that's good for people that can get kills, that can pick people off. Obviously, so they can shut them down and get that gold. So I think that's helpful. It's going to have the most impact on 2 kills. If you stop them at 2 kills, then it's going to equalize a lot of the gold. And they are nerfing tower golds. This is bad for support, so now you're probably only going to get 50 gold per tower killed instead of 100. Man, it slows it down a little bit globally. Like, it's probably not going to make or break the game, whether or not you get that 50 gold. But it will slow it down. So now people that just kind of, you know, get the first tower blood, because first tower blood has been contributing to snowballs as well, that they used to give, but now it doesn't give as much globally. So it's basically turns are worth 200 less gold, because you don't get it globally anymore. People will still be able to split it at the tower, but they won't get the global. Actually, it'd be 250 gold. Yeah, because I think the person who kills it still gets the global portion of it. I'm not entirely sure. It's either between 200 and 250 gold shaved off of towers. So, pretty big deal. I mean, most towers, I think a normal tower... Let me see tower gold. I haven't actually looked at that in a while. It used to be 200 per tower, but they've changed it so much. Hey, thanks so much for the sub. I appreciate it. Okay. Close to the turn. Okay, so 250 is split among players who participate. Okay, so that just gets split no matter what. And then if you're not there, then it's 50 extra. Or does everybody get this? I don't know what the global means. Because this would mean that you actually don't want people to be near the tower. So if, like, all 5 of your teammates are near a tower, do you only get 250? Or is it you always get 250 for killing it, and then everyone on your team gets an extra 50? I think that's probably what it is. Or that would be kind of weird strategy-wise. So, basically, towers are only worth 500 gold now. Whereas before, they were worth 750. So that's knocking off a third of the value of towers. Now, you do get a lot of other advantage off of towers, like map control and things like that, but I think that's pretty rough. So, yeah, I mean, so they're lowering the gold. They're lowering the gold that a snowballing team can get through towers, and they're making it easier to catch back up through lower death timers in the early game, and then the bounties gold is going to be huge for keeping people back into the game. So, game's might extend a little bit more. Like, if you're playing it, you know, these snowbally Feast or Famine champions are going to be a little bit better because now, even if they fall behind, if they just get a couple of shutdowns, they can be right back in it with this bounty gold. So now if you're playing, you know, something that requires a heavy snowball, like a, you know, Talon or a LeBlanc, even if you fall behind in lane, now if you just go around the map and pick up a couple of kills, you're right back in it. So I feel like this favors assassins even more, but then they're not going to be able to get their item edge either. Now, if you're Talon and you've killed a few people and, you know, the tanks get a couple of catch-up kills, then they're going to be able to get the armor to counteract your lethality. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. You know, my prediction is the games will slow down. Probably not a ton, but a little bit. That might actually be enough to help some of these crit champions get back into the game, because now they can get some of that snowball gold, maybe, to be able to get some of that crit itemization rolling to afford it a little bit better. So we'll see. This will make champions like Brand, support, and things like that a little bit stronger, just because you want to be able to get these kills to shut down the bounty gold in these team fights. So I like it. I like it. Anything that slows down the game a little bit. I think it's a bit too fast. It's a bit too fast. We have had some good games in the last couple of days. They're like 40 or 45 minutes. But overall, I still think it's a bit too fast. Okay, so now that it's better at finding and shutting down inappropriate names. Monsters, you know, can be killed by the burn effects, which is good. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but maybe a little bit. Bug fixes. Don't think it's going to matter. So be sure to check out my individual tier list, and I'll have to sit here and think a little bit more about how this is going to affect each champion. We'll see. So just check out the tier list. But overall, I think it's a good patch. You know, I think the biggest nerf is to Guinsoo's. I think that will definitely rock a few champions in there. Lucian's not going to matter as far as people who are on top. The Irelia is probably not going to... It'll hurt her a little bit. Otherwise, I think the meta is probably going to stay similar, but other than, like, the funneling will be a lot weaker with the Nunu Karthus, and, like, the Taric E, I think, will be weaker. This is probably one of the more interesting things for some supports. I'll have to study up and figure out how to use this appropriately, and, like, when and where you could use this. But this is really interesting to me. And then this stuff is going to allow riskier champions to get back into the game is the best way I can think of it. You know, if you're playing Janna and your team's behind, I don't know. It feels like this favors aggressive supports even more, because now I feel like if you're playing something like Janna or Soraka or Sona and you can't make a play to try to get these kills to catch your team up, then you're not going to benefit as much as if you're playing something like Rakan or Blitzcrank to make a play to get these kills, to get your team back into the game, to get those bounties collected, right? Because if they run too far away with it, if they get too much map advantage before you collect the bounties, then the bounties may not help you out as much. So obviously you want to pick those up as fast as possible. Remember, they're most efficient at 2 kills now, because that gives you back 50% of your lost gold, 450 gold to their 600, versus, you know, if they get up to 10 kills in a row on a champion, yeah, you're going to get a big shutdown, but they already have a whole lot of extra gold on top of you, where if you shut them down multiple times earlier, then it probably would be more valuable. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to think it over, but I feel like this still heavily favors hard engage supports, and then also supports that can do really big damage like Brand. So, anyways, that's going to be it. Well, we kept it to about an hour. Didn't do the 30 minutes. Maybe someday. We'll keep the dream alive. But thank you very much. Have a good day. Don't forget to check out the channel if you like the content. We stream every night starting around 9:30. Hope to see you there sometime. Have a good day.